My name is Dan Ward. I'm running for Congress in the Virginia 7th. I'm running against a man by the name of Dave Bratt, who a lot of you might know was surprise victor over Eric Cantor in 2014, who was the House Majority Leader. If you dig a little bit deeper, though, you'll find that Breitbart, Bannon, and Gorka orchestrated that. There's a really fantastic podcast by This American Life on it. It's called The Beginning of Now, I think very appropriately titled. A little about me. I'm from the district, grew up there in a small farm, 25 years in the Marine Corps. I worked at the State Department. I'm a labor representative for Airline Pilots Association now. I have a small farm myself, and I feel that our democracy is under attack. I've spent my entire career around authoritarians. I know what it is. I was in Ukraine in 9, 10, and 11 under Yanukovych. I was in Turkey in 98, again in 2012 under Erdogan and his full rise and turn into authoritarianism. And it's happening here. They're attacking the very pillars of our democracy, whether it's the media, whether it's anybody that disagrees with their line of thought, and it's time to stop it. You know, our Constitution can handle presidents like Trump, but it cannot handle a president like Trump with a complicit Congress, and that's what we have right now. And I'm taking on Dave Bratt, who is a yes man to Donald Trump.
So how do we, so you know firsthand, you've seen firsthand Russian interference
Absolutely.
in governments before.
Completely.
In Ukraine.
I was there. I was within a week of Maidan, I was in Ukraine. My boss at the time was Undersecretary Gadamuller at the State Department. She sent me there to work with Ambassador Pyatt to help them redo their security assistance budget. And while I was there, this is when the Ukrainians weren't sure this was a full-blown Russian invasion, and yet the Russians were there beating the crap out of students who were protesting to keep their country together. I'm not talking about in Kyiv proper. I'm talking about in Luhansk and Donetsk, and it was horrifying. And so yes, I've seen Russian interference. It's happening here, and the playbook is very familiar, and it's not even that clever. You just have to know what you're looking at, and I know what I'm looking at, and I tell you, I think the House is the key piece here. I don't think the Senate is really within reach. There's 10 Democrats up in Republican states. There's only one Republican up in a Democratic state. The House is it. And my district was redistricted last year by the courts. It's winnable now. Dave Bratt doesn't fit it. He doesn't fit anywhere, frankly, but it's winnable. And that's why I decided to step up. I think I have a background that will, when Republicans retreat to security and fear, which is they always do, it's going to have a hard time doing that with a Marine Colonel. And so I think I occupy some space that he's not going to be able to retreat to.
Well, it's weird that the usual Republican line is retreating to security and fear, but now that space is weirdly, because they're building it in a different way. They're defending the Russians, which are using social media to build fear and everything within it. And so it's a very confusing paradigm that's changed in the last maybe 7 years, tops.
But aren't they still occupying? I mean, at least, I don't know about, there's a Trump rally going on today.
Yeah.
It's just emblazoned with American flags and patriotism, and it's the opposite of what you say. But, the whole Propaganda 101 is deny, deflect, counter, accuse.
Yeah.
And that's their simple playbook, and that's what they do, right? I don't know if you actually, there's some talk now about Hillary was stalking Trump at the debate. I mean, okay, come on, give me a break, right? I mean, that's what they do. Understand that they're predictable, and it's time to step up. It's time for Democrats to own this country. Let's start waving the flag. Let's be patriots, because we're the real patriots here, right? We think before we act. We don't just act for self-profit. Like I told you, Dave Bratt, stupidly says, but honest in a sense, the AHCA taking 25 million people off their health care is a $1 trillion tax cut. It's the holy grail. That's what they really stand for, is money and theft. And that's what these people are doing to this country.
So your district is heavily military, right?
No, it's not. No, it's
okay.
It goes from the Richmond suburbs up north to Fredericksburg.
Oh, okay. I thought.
I
guess maybe after the redistricting changed, or
yeah, redistricting did affect some of it, but it's not heavily military.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. So scratch that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so how do you counter a basically multi-billion-dollar social media campaign with a foreign government behind it? Because basically, this your opponent is going to have Breitbart. He has that entire that machine behind him.
Well, I'm going to need help. That's the truth. We're doing really well fundraising. I'm in a labor union, and so my brothers and sisters in my labor union are helping me out. But we're going to need help beyond that, because you're right. There's going to be super PACs, the Koch brothers, the Freedom Caucus. Those guys, because he's a Freedom Caucus guy, they're going to come with everything, because if a guy like Dave Bratt loses, they know they're in trouble. So they're going to make this district hard. But you know what? There's a saying in the Marine Corps, there's no better friend, no worse enemy. And he's going to be a nasty fight, and I'm going to get down there with him. I'm going to fight him hard. But I'm going to need help from those of us who are concerned about this country, which is the majority of this country. Let's not forget that he did not win the popular vote. All right, so that's what it's going to come down to.
Did Trump win your district?
Yeah, he did.
He did? Okay.
He did, but we don't know specifically because they just redistricted last year. So this is the first election with it. But if you just do the numbers, he did win it.
But he won a lot of districts that Hillary also won, confusing. That Democrats won, so it's actually kind of confusing. Now there's kind of two. There's right now there's DACA is being discussed.
Sure.
Where do you stand on that, and how do you feel about the Democratic leadership working with Trump on that issue?
Well, I mean, how can you fault people who are brought here to no fault of their own and have lived here their entire country? I mean, it is the most heartless thing I've read in a long time about we're going to kick young kids out who have spent their entire life in this country. They're Americans. They're not from wherever they, trying to be deported back from. It's heartless, and we have to do something about it. And you know what? It's good that, if President Trump is actually going to do something to stop that, then I'm okay with that, right? We have to take what we can from a guy like this, but to say we won't work with him at the expense of kicking out hundreds of thousands of young, in my mind, kids who have done nothing wrong is heartless, and therefore we have to do that. That's compassion, and that's absolutely the right answer.
Now your state has had some controversies. Virginia's had some controversies in the last month or two.
Yeah, I was there.
With Charlottesville?
I was there.
Yeah, I was there as well. That's why.
I was on Pedestrian Mall in 4th when the car went by.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I was right there.
Yeah. No, I got the other incident when DeAndre Harris was beaten in the parking garage. I took that photo.
Yeah. Oh, that was you. Okay.
Yeah. No. So believe me, I've also gotten my own swath of Russian bots attacking me and everything like that, which is super interesting. But where do you stand on the fact that I won't even get into the statue controversy, but where do you stand on the weird, the kind of the right wing and Trump's lack of ability to say that white supremacists are bad?
Let's go back to what I said earlier. Deny, deflect, counter-accuse. That's the methodology, and that's what's happening. I'm from there. Like, I grew up there. Charlottesville, I grew up in the country, but so I didn't grow up in the town of Charlottesville, but that's where we go all the time. Yeah. That's my town. Yeah. And as I'm driving into town that day, I'm watching platoons of Nazis and KKK members and white supremacists in quasi-uniforms and flags in my town. And when I talk about things, it reminds me of my time in Ukraine. That's what it felt like. But there was Charlottesville. Yeah. And that's what these people have unleashed on our country. The KKK is so emboldened that they're not even wearing hoods. Think about that for a second. Can you,
because I was in Kiev as well.
Yeah.
I covered Euromaidan.
That
was the first thing. It was terrifying down to, I don't know if you saw the shields that they were using.
Oh, yeah.
They were using Eastern European police shields, those round. How do you, I guess there's nobody else better to actually talk on this issue. How do you compare the two of them? And the one common denominator, it seems, is Russia, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Yeah. And these people are following the Russian playbook, hook, line, and sinker. The people that the Nazis and the KKK members I saw in Charlottesville reminded me of the thugs that I saw in Ukraine that were beating the crap out of those kids that were in Donetsk and Luhansk. And then, of course, in the Maidan as well. Yeah. It's an assault on our country. That was my hometown, and that's not acceptable. And for these guys to equate people, and those people that were standing up were local people, by and large. One of my biggest supporters' daughters was punched in the face by a Nazi or a KKK guy, because you can't identify him. Yeah. There was a lawyer that witnessed it, went to the police and said, "Arrest this man, he just assaulted this woman." Nothing.
Yeah.
How do you? Nothing. How do you square that away?
I mean, I guess it's a fantastic question. Like, how do you square away kind of the overall reaction from an entire swath of the country to Charlottesville? I mean,
I'm an optimist. by and large. I'm an optimistic person, and I think that this is a pivotal moment for the good. I think this was, I hate to use this analogy, but it's a Rosa Parks moment. That was their high water mark, and that's it. I think that if you watch the governor's race in Virginia in November, you're going to see a resounding victory, and you're going to start seeing these guys scurrying, because that is the true bellwether of party strength. These 5 special elections that have happened have been in ruby red states, and even in those, Democrats have done better than predicted, right?
Yeah.
We haven't won, but to win in a place like that is almost impossible. The Virginia governor's race, Ralph Northam is going to win. He's going to win handily, and I think you're going to see these guys getting scared at that point.